Hello, I'm Karen.
Hi, Karen.
I'm an adult child of an alcoholic and dysfunctional family. It's my honor to introduce you to today's speaker. So the first time I met Sara was at her very first ACA meeting, which also happened to be my very first ACA meeting. Of all the meetings in the metro Atlanta area, I'm still really grateful that we chose the same one. So it turns out that first night, the person with the key to the room that we were supposed to meet in didn't show up. So a small group of us, by group conscience, even though we didn't yet know what a group conscience was, decided to have the meeting anyway. So we sat in the breezeway on a picnic table, and when it got dark, we read from shared workbooks using the light from our cell phone flashlights. So that was 6 years ago, this past July. Sara's dedication to program and ultimately her own recovery has been steadfast as meeting treasurer, leader, fellow traveler, host, and even party planner. When it's been hard, when the road to recovery has been dark and it had its moments, she's used the program to learn to shine her own flashlight, if you will, because the light inside her was there all along. She just needed to find her own way to harness it. This light is inside all of us, and it works if you work it. To talk now about how to find self-empowerment through the 12 steps, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Sara.
So happy to be here. I'll start and end with gratitude. So thanks to all of you for hosting us from out of town. This is a wonderful place. What a great fellowship. And thanks to all my ACA home group family who came to support me. I feel so much love and support. Thank you. I love you all. So I would like to breathe together first, if you don't mind. So if you would humor me, put your feet on the floor, get grounded, sit tall and well. Everyone close your eyes and let's breathe. Just focus on your breathing for just a moment. Be present in this moment. Thank you. That power is so palpable. And it's always there for us to enjoy it. So speaking of power, I would like to start with powerlessness. We're all familiar with that, right? So, there are so many clues that let me know that I was powerless and let me know that my life was unmanageable before I found the program. So I was sharing this with just casually with Melissa the other day, but here's a big clue. I was married and I was in couples counseling with another person to fix that relationship. Wow. That's unmanageability. I was insane. I was really addicted to the excitement of the relationship. I was using my poor husband, who's a really great guy, my ex-husband now, for safety and security, which was very selfish. And finally, I couldn't let either of the relationships go, which is like my MO over the course of my life until I found this program. Because in my mind, abandonment equaled death. And so even if I was the one leaving the relationship, I was killing myself. It felt that surreal. It felt that real to me. And I wasn't willing to go through the pain. Okay, another one. This relentless search for acceptance. So for me, it really showed up at work. And I was a grad student for a time right before the program where I didn't sleep. It was just go, go, go. I really had to do extra at work just to make sure everyone understood my value, right? And I had to go to class at night, and I was a single mom at that time. So I really put my health at risk and probably knocked a few years off my life in doing so. But I needed to feel like I was achieving all the time. I needed to feel like I was pleasing all the people all the time. And there was never room for anything but perfection. I've got a couple other options, but I'm not going to continue down that path. So can anyone relate to any of the stories that I'm telling? All right, I'm in the right place. So that is, to some degree, all of us live with some of that, but it's just magnified in this room. So how did I come to that? Like, it's not something I chose. It's not something any of us choose to do, right? But I came by it honestly. So the easiest way to describe my childhood was neglectful. I was born to a couple who had already divorced. In essence, they were legally divorced by the time I was 1, and my mom hid us away. We moved from Michigan to Florida, my sister and I, and made it impossible for my dad to find us. And she was dealing with her own demons. I mean, she was an alcoholic. And when she wasn't drinking, she was a workaholic, sometimes both if she could manage it. And totally undiagnosed, but she's totally a love addict from my perspective. So I definitely come by it honestly. My mom was really not able to manage or to give me the love that I needed. And I know that a lot of you can relate to that. So, in her love addiction, there were a lot of men, a lot of revolving doors. And when they weren't taking advantage of me physically or sexually, they were ignoring me. And so a neglectful mother and another pick me up, I need to be held from the other parent figure in my life, all of them. It was a big miss. And my sister, bless her heart, I have a sister. She's 8 years older than me. And so she's the family hero, right? She's the one that held it all together. At 8, I was born. And so by the time she was 14, she was like the mother of the house and still is the center of the household in our family, which is ironic. Because my mom's she's still alive and kicking. But my sister is that martyr, the I'll save everyone, and she's got her own path. But she did the best she could. And at that time, for a 14-year-old disciplining a 6-year-old, it was fear and guilt. So I got that strong disciplinarian voice in my head from that point on too. So it's I got all the awesome qualities that an adult child gets. And my dad, when he was able to find us, when I was 7, he has great intentions. He's just not available emotionally to be able to be there. And so he piled on a lot more abandonment as the years went on. So it's kind of dim beginning, but there were a lot of glimpses. It's not all bad, right? It's never all bad. Well, I won't say never, but it's not all the time all bad. My grandma, she was amazing, and I credit her faith in me and her unconditional love and helping me understand I had value at some time in my life. So I really believe that she really saved my life. And also, when I was older, I got to see my step-grandparents. My dad married a wonderful woman. I can't believe it. We're all so lucky. She's amazing. A little less dysfunctional than my family. But, I got to see them function as a loving family. At Christmas and every other summer, I got to see them conflict without yelling and screaming and busting holes in the wall. And I got to see them love each other. And I think that example really showed me that there was something else. And so I always had a little door open. And I hope that every adult, every little kid who has the same type of childhood has some little door open for them. And we all have the opportunity to be that for those children. So, the teenage years for me were the roughest, if you can imagine, coming into my own. I had a lot of anger for my mother and a lot of anger for everyone. So, at one point, I was an unruly child because I wasn't able to express, and we lived with this crazy guy who was actually abusing my younger brother physically. And so he finally got bruises on his body, so it was okay for me to call the cops. And when I did that, they didn't believe me. And I had to go back and tell the cops that I lied to them. And that, to me, was a defining moment in my life. It was awful. And in that instance, though, the silver lining on that one was they assigned me a court-ordered counselor. And her name was Roberta. And, she was another shining light in my life. She said, look, you got the short end of the stick. She listened to what I said. I'd never gotten that before. She actually listened to me and said, you got a raw deal. Your mom's in a really bad situation. You know, you've got all these cards stacked against you. And she listened to me. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about her in a moment. But so that was another little glimpse into the door being cracked open for me to have a chance. Young adulthood, going through the chronology here, was a roller coaster. You know, the highs and lows. I was like either at the top of the hill and everything was amazing and nothing could stop me, or I was at the bottom and ready to flip to the next ramp, and everything was coming crashing down on me. And I lived like that, and a lot of people live like that. But I was seeking for connection in all that time, right? All I wanted was hard and fast relationships. That was, that was it. If it was intense and it was, with someone who probably wasn't a good match for me, that was the one I wanted. So it really serviced that I'm alive nature. Drugs also, anything to help me feel alive and loved was what I was looking for. So that I got a section here called Silver Linings, and that's where I wanted to delve into a little bit more about Roberta. I am an adult child, so the way that I was able to get my mother's attention sometimes was through performance, through my grades. And so that performance thing kind of kept along in my life. But when I was 13 and I had all these awesome grades and I was like ready to screw the world, I was like, let me out of here. What do I do? How do I make this like the biggest mess of my life? Roberta is the one that said, look, you have a chance. You can make it different for yourself. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps and find a way to make education your way out of this mess. And that was my turning point. I flipped it from thinking of it as let me do well so that I can get my mother's attention to let me do well so that I can pull myself out of the situation. And I became super self-reliant. Well, I found the self-reliance in me because it was already there, right? I just was able to, I made a mess of it later on in life because it's still difficult for me to ask for help. But I think that's okay. At that point, it's what I needed. It's one of my survival traits, right? And that's how I got through. And I'm really grateful for that still today. And another silver lining is, I don't know how this happened, but I chose a co-parent who is actually a good guy and is a really good father. It's not something that I chose. I really think that I had some source intervention there because it could have been anybody, and it just happened to be someone at that time in my life that was not on prison bound, I suppose. So I do want to provide the balance because, like I said, not everything is ponies and rainbows, but it's also not everything is doom and gloom either. And I think that optimism is another character trait that was and still is a coping mechanism for me, but I use it well, I think, and I think it's really helped me in how I position to the world. So through my adult life, I kind of went along that roller coaster, right, till about 6 or 7 years ago. Wow, the straw that broke the camel's back. So what was it that brought me to surrender? What was it that brought me to know that I could identify as an adult child? Well, I was in this relationship. Was I still married? No. I think I was divorced at this time. long story. I need 2 hours to talk about that one. But, I was a severe codependent, wanting to make everyone happy, not even knowing who I was. But I was really ripe to be found by a narcissist who had collections of me, as it came to be known. But, man, that relationship was so intense, and I really felt like I was only alive when I was there with him. And it was so abusive for me physically, for me sexually, for me emotionally. But we were on and off, and every time we broke up, it was like dying for me. I felt like I didn't have any value if I wasn't with him. And if I was with him, it was like totally erasing every bit of value I thought that I had. So it was a no-win situation. There's a part in the Yellow Book I remember about, there's a story, I can't remember which step it was, but the writer talked about writhing on the floor in codependent pain. And, I was there on the floor, already having gone to therapy for this relationship, but I was there on the floor, like, thinking, like, there's no worse feeling. Like, being dead would be better than this. And, I had been in therapy, like I mentioned, but I explained that scenario to my therapist, and she's like, it's really time for you to find a 12-step program. You have a severe problem. And at first, that wasn't the first time it had been introduced to me, adult children. Oh, actually, the therapist in my couples therapy with the lover that I had told me I needed to go to ACA, but I couldn't handle the word codependent. So this is the second time it came up. And she recommended ACA to me. She is a 12-step based therapist in another program. But, wow, at that point, I was completely unaware of my true nature. Like all of the benefits that I have been able to enjoy for this program, I was completely blind to. I was completely isolated and alone and disconnected from the world. So I had no choice but to surrender. I really feel that's the truth. I had no choice. I had a son to take care of, and I had a little girl inside me that I didn't even had acknowledged until that point. So I went to that meeting, July 30th, 2013, and I was so frustrated. What kind of program doesn't open the door? Who are these people? I had so much judgment in my mind. How could this be? I don't think I'm in the right place. And then, of course, I was comparing myself to the other person who was like me. So that was tough, but you never knew that. Maybe you did. But so I started attending meetings because it made me feel safe. I finally felt like I was with people who understood me. And I didn't share very deeply for a really long time, and I didn't reach out to an individual for many months. I think it was like right before the holidays that I first reached out to Karen. Yeah. Oh, this is another story I could have told you at the front. I was asking her, man, this is with the narcissist. He really wants me to change my phone number for a third time. Do you think I should do it? He was so insecure about the people who would be calling me that I needed to constantly change my phone number. And, she didn't give me advice. She listened. And that was the first time I risked my being vulnerable, and I got a really good benefit from it. And I didn't change my number. That might have been the first time I stood up to him. I don't know if it was for sure, but I felt like I had someone who was not myself, who I had trusted, who told me this was crazy, and I believed it. So I had some strength in that. And after that, we eventually agreed to be fellow travelers, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I want to spend some time in here talking about the work, because I know I got immediate relief from coming to meetings immediately, and my life was better. But I think my goal is to be able to show people there's so much more that's available. It's not just about the relief. There's so much more available, and maybe I will get to that as we go. But it's all about how much you're able to put into the work. And so for me, it was consistent meetings. 2 meetings a week for a while. I really wanted to work the steps, but I was really afraid to ask someone to work the steps with me. So I attended a step study meeting in addition to the one that I was attending. And it was great, more great fellowship. But we just weren't working the steps because, I'm performance-based. I was ready to get it done in 12 weeks. What are we waiting for? 12 weeks. 1 week, let's do it. But so I was a little on fire to get it done because I got a little bit of relief and I wanted more. So even on vacation and business travel, I would attend meetings. And I still attend weekly meetings. And when I am out on business travel, I'll often go to Knoxville, and there's a meeting there on Tuesday that I attend, and they know me just the same. So coming to and back from vacation was really difficult for me. I always had this desire to act out, and for me, acting out was reaching out to past partners or to reaching out to people who were not good for me to get some validation from them. So coming back and forth from vacation was difficult, that transition. So I would always find a phone meeting to call into because I knew that if I didn't, there was a chance that I would do something I regretted. So that's important. The second part of the work is step work. And we work the steps in the meeting, which I love, but there's something to a repeated expectation that you're going to work for me, that I'm going to work the steps repeatedly throughout my lifetime. And so, at the beginning, like I mentioned, I was too afraid. I felt too unworthy to ask someone to be my fellow traveler to work the steps with me. So I started with my therapist. And then we got so far, and she said, you really need to work with someone. And I found a recovery coach. Because again, I didn't feel worthy enough to have someone spend their time with me, only me, to benefit me. I felt like I needed to pay someone in order for it to be equal footing. That's where my value was as a person. And that didn't really work out for me. It was not it was good for me at moments, but it wasn't, that parent-child dynamic came into play where all I wanted to do was please her. And at that point, I couldn't work the steps because I was reliving the feeling with my mother. So that's the time when Karen came in and we started working the steps. We actually worked weekly. We would read and do the questions, the yellow workbook questions, and come together, and we read through every darn question and we answered them both, and it took many months. But it was a weekly commitment, and we still meet weekly. We've worked the book twice. We've worked the Gentle Path. We've worked the laundry list workbooks. It's a progressive recovery because it's a progressive addiction. So, I really believe that continuing that, focus on making sure I'm honest with myself and my recovery is progressively continuing is an important part of my life and why I can stay on track. I also have had other fellow travelers throughout this time, being available and open when there's not a lot of other women who are willing to work the steps is an important part of my service over time. Sometimes that changes depending upon my availability, but I'm going to say, that I'm going to be there in some degree to whoever asked me to be. And being open is a part of that, is a part of service I'll talk about. But whenever I would start with a fellow traveler, we don't have to follow the same diagram that worked for me in my original. It's another negotiation, and sometimes it looks different. In fact, I have another fellow traveler who we don't work the steps consistently. We work it when she's ready, because it's her process too. But we meet every single weekday at 7:15 in the morning, and we share our feelings for 3 years now at least, maybe more, 3 or 4 years. But that to me is a constant practice to be mindful of what it is. Go inside. What am I feeling today? And having that consistently as a commitment over that time has been invaluable to me, and I hope the same for her. So, but just showing up and being available to my fellow travelers is a part of my work, and I hope that they'll do the same for me if I ask for them. And one other thing. Laundry list workbook, small group. Woo-hoo. That was awesome and difficult. I did it with a small group first. But that is a great piece of literature. And it really helped me dig deeper into my traits and help me understand how my traits might be different from other adult children's. So that was invaluable to me. So the moral of that story is do what works and stick with it. Consistency is the key. Service to me, I've already mentioned this, and something surprising. Oh, meditation practice before we meet. We added a 30-minute sitting session where we can practice our 11th step before the meeting, and it really helps me get grounded and really ready to receive and give in the meetings. And for me, as the person who's always the leader at work, proving my value, to me, service is not leading. At the end of the meeting when they say, is there anyone who'd like to volunteer? It's everything that I have inside to hold back my hand because I just want to make sure that the meeting's taken care of. So for me, service is allowing other people to serve. And that is very difficult, which is why after all this time I haven't given up the treasurer's spot. Maybe I'll be able to do that. I'm working on it. Okay. The last piece in this section on the work is about sponsorship. I've mentioned a few things, but there was one other piece that I wanted to bring is that it's really difficult to maintain equal footing, but it's really important to me. My initial fellow traveler was the very first relationship in my lifetime where I was a true equal. And the fellow traveler model of ACA sponsorship, I think, is a beauty because that has been my template for other relationships. Because in the past, and also my inclination is either to be the over, where I know what's best and you need to listen to me and we can follow, but you'll be getting my advice, or the under, which is what I described to you earlier with my recovery coach. Please let me please you. What is it that I need to do in order to get your acceptance? So both of those are templates that I had 36 years of practicing, and it's really difficult to stay focused, to stay equal footing. And so sponsorship to me is an opportunity to continue to practice that, and it's really, really difficult and challenging. But like I said, that is the work that really helps all of my other relationships develop into something that is more equal. And that's where I can really connect with people rather than over or under, because this is where our inner children can play, and only here. Okay. Thank you for letting me share that. So another part of the work is I'll call it conscious contact, because that's what this is all about in my mind, conscious contact with my higher power. So to me, knowing that there is a higher power and that I can access that, like we did at the beginning of this talk a moment ago, is really the most profound learning for me. And the biggest change in my life is being able to know that there is this substratum of energy that connects us all, and we have access to it every moment. So when I meditate, I connect with that pure consciousness, what some of you might choose to call God. And the path to my deepest desires, which is the highest good for all of us, is clearer. I get that direct connection to intuition. If I'm listening well, sometimes it takes a while for the thoughts to fade. But as long as I keep refocusing on my breath and letting those thoughts die down naturally and observing them, then I really feel like this is the way for me to have that pause, right? It's enabled me to be able to sit back in my life and not be the one who's always reacting to everything. and just take inventory of what's going on with others and with myself and present myself as a whole person rather than less than. And to me, meditation allows for that. When I'm in that space, self-doubt and fear falls away, and I have glimpses into that the door of fulfillment is opening. And it's a beautiful thing. And I would never have been able to find that without the ACA and the 12 steps. So I practice each day in silence. Every morning, it's the first thing I do when I wake up. Sometimes it's only 5 minutes because I'm already rushing through the things that I need to do for the day. But each day it's important for me to be consistent. I also attend several meditation groups a week and silent meditation retreats, which I can't believe it. Like, we were talking on the way here. The person I was and the person I am now, like, I could never tell you that I would be excited about a 7-day silent meditation retreat over New Year's. Oh my God! I'm not going to be partying like crazy. I'm going to be silent. And I'm happy about that. Saved up on my vacation. Okay. So it allows me to practice, to be in the present moment, because the present moment is all that there really is. There are these things that we worry about, that we remember from the past and that we worry about from the future, but that's not real. It's all in our minds. What we have is right here, right now. And meditation really allows that to happen for me. Oh, good. I'm right on time. So I want to also transition to this piece about how the promises are working for me in my life. What that looks like for me. So I'll talk about what it looks like from the outside, and I'll talk about how it feels on the inside. So others might see my life to be different in that I can take care of myself. I don't think I ever took care of myself. I depended upon someone else to do that. So I take care of my physical body, and my health is really important to me. And I grew up in a household that saw, I remember walking or riding in the car and seeing people running by, and the atmosphere that I got was, who do they think they are running? They must think they're better than we are, and that's ridiculous. But that was the common thought in my household, and it still plays in my mind sometimes. But no, the people who are taking care of themselves, like us in this room, we're raising our collective consciousness by investing in this and doing this work. And I'm grateful to you for doing that. And also to the people who are running on the street too. It all folds into the same bank, if you will. Oh, financial security that I enjoy. I've had financial security before, but like the promise says, like the feeling of financial security to me is what's important. And before it was, if I wasn't spending all my money, I was missing out on all the fun things in life, right? But now I feel safety and security, and I'm okay with the ease, the very narrow, like we talked about earlier, where I had these really wide highs and lows. It's very narrow now, and I'm really happy about that. Someone said to me earlier, "You're so calm and serene," and that's such a very wide differential between how I am now and how I used to be. Crazy party Sarah. Sarah-licious. That was my party name. Can't believe I said that on tape. Anyway, we'll forget that. I'm just kidding. So it looks very different. I have a simple life. I've gotten rid of everything in my life that is not functional and does not give me joy. So my house is pretty empty, and I love that. It feels good. And all the things that I do, all the time that I spend, all the money that I invest in are aligned to my values in life. And I never knew what my values were because I never took the time to find that out before this program. I was just trying to hang my star in everyone else and learning what their values were so I could be just that so that they would never leave me. So learning that compassion and generosity and all these wonderful things that I never knew were important to me, I can spend all of my time focusing on those, and I get so much fulfillment from that. Like, it helps me so much in decision making. If I need to how to decide what to do, just look to what's important to me. Align everything to that. I am able to share intimacy through truly meaningful relationships for the first time. For the first time. Like, I was investing in people who didn't care about me, probably didn't know my name. But now I have people who I know will be in my life for the long haul. People I know I can count on in a moment's notice. That I know if I'm in jail will come bail me out. No, I'm kidding. That I know will always answer the phone, really. And that to me means so much. So what does it feel like on the inside? Although there were a lot of feelings in that last sentence, in that last section, it feels really peaceful. And I really enjoy the peace rather than the frenetic life that I had before, where I didn't feel alive unless I was doing and achieving and pleasing. Now it's just like, I get to go home and take a nap when I leave here. And that's amazing. I love the peaceful life. I really dig myself. I really learned who I am. I'm still learning. But I really enjoy spending time with me. Who'd have thunk? One of my first assignments as a therapist, as a single woman, once I was able to break free from that relationship, was to go on vacation by myself. And when my therapist told me that, I was terrified. Like, what am I going to do? I have no idea. But now, I don't have to negotiate where we go eat with anyone if I'm by myself. I always go exactly where I want to go. So I really know what I like and what I don't like. And I was never able to answer, what do you want to do tonight? Because I never knew what that was. It was only what you wanted. So dating is very different now. Very different. I have grace for myself. It's okay to make mistakes. So to me, my self-doubt, which is hallmark of why we're all here, right? My self-doubt still shows up. It will always. So sometimes it's hard for me to decipher between what's intuition and what's, my ego. Like, what's the right answer? But I learned that I'm in that area of self-doubt because I'm so afraid to make a mistake. Like, that's the problem. I can't make a mistake because if I make a mistake, that might mean I'm unlovable. But the problem is, what I need to do and what I have been doing is to earn the self-trust of my inner child. And earning my inner child's trust is the most important thing, because after that, I can do anything. I'll talk more about that as we close. But for me, my goal was to listen to that inner voice and do the thing that inner voice said, even if it was going to mean I could make a mistake. So giving myself that leeway to make a mistake it's a fine. I'm not worried about making a mistake. I'm just trying to be here for my little girl. And if I can do that, then everything will work out. And that has never gone awry. That guidance I got, and she was a great therapist, has never shed me wrong. So I will continue that. And I really do. I have goals for myself for the first time in my life, but I really do truly expect the best. I really expect the best, and I get it. And that's what that looks like for me, is that in the present moment, I am able to get the best. The highest good for all is really my prayer. And in every present moment, it is the highest good for all. Every moment serves our awakening. There might be awful things happening in the world, but we don't see the whole picture from our small perspective. Everything is for the highest good. So I wanted to close with talking about how my own spiritual awakening, that I am on this path, and we all are, I'm so grateful for, has allowed by the work of the 12 steps, has really shown me true, authentic power, capital A, capital P, that is available to all of us. You might have felt it when we were breathing together at the first part of the session. Through conscious contact, I really believe that we have access to this authentic inner power, which is way different than the external power that I was seeking before I came into the program. Seeking this external power to exert my will left me feeling powerless, because I was powerless over that. So now that I know that I only ever felt powerless because I hadn't yet realized my essential nature, which is rooted in pure consciousness, what some of you choose to call God. I was living at the level of the false self, and the Big Red Book talks about this quite a bit. In this state, I only had access to external power, and by following my ego, it only yielded disconnection, discontent, anger, fear, unworthiness. So I had to surrender. The Big Red Book gave me this quote. It says, "By admitting our powerlessness, we take our first step toward reclaiming personal power, which is critical for healing the fractured identity." So I'm trying to paint the picture of external power, fractured identity, authentic power, unity with Source. I hope that connection can be reinforced today, because I know we've all read it in the Red Book. But once I was able to surrender my will and my life over to the care of my higher power, I could recognize my true self as me in my natural state, underneath all that garbage that I and my family and society had thrown on top of it to keep me in the spot that I was, and that had buried me underneath. So I really believe our purpose in life is to get through all that garbage to find out who we truly are and live in that truth. Now that I found myself, I have access to that authentic power, and whenever I can really remember who I am, which is in that space. So what's the difference? I already talked about the difference between external and authentic power quite a bit, but I'll just reiterate. External power is when we live in the problem. We're chasing after that zero-sum game. And if I'm getting power, that means someone else is losing it. We're always in constant fight and conflict with other people. And my will is being exerted. However, when we're in authentic power and we're living in the present moment, we have unlimited potential. We are achieving God's will, or the will of the universe. And we are in the flow, just like the Red Book says. We live in abundance. We are love-based, and all of this is available to everyone. We're just not, we're conditioned to not believe that. Our stories aren't told that way. But our spiritual path is to find the true story for us. So only when I'm in the present moment can I find this. This is my path to self-empowerment, the continuation of my spiritual journey. So I see 12 steps as like the springboard to it all, because it showed me that this is possible, but my journey continues and will continue through several lifetimes. We all can choose to be present in each moment or not. It's a choice every moment. Each of us. So how do we know when we are in the present? We feel moments of love, of openness, of creativity, of synchronicity, acceptance, peace, and inspiration. Have you guys felt moments like that? Yeah? That's when you are accessing your authentic power. You all have accessed that. And this is your true nature. When I'm self-aware in the present moment, I'm connected to the infinite power of creation, and I feel the confidence and strength that comes from having the support of the universe within me, even if it's for a moment. Like, if I could feel that all the time, I am unstoppable, but I'm hoping to get like a smidgen of a second of it so that it can take me through the day, right? That's all we really need, but eventually my goal is to broaden that door, open that door a little bit wider. I believe that all of you can glimpse this too. So this is my fulfillment, my conscious contact with Source, my antidote to my addictions. And I believe that is your path as well. So I'm closing with more gratitude for this awareness and for what the 12 steps has given me and is giving all of you. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for all the pain and suffering I've endured. I really am. And I'm grateful for all the pain and suffering that my family has endured. I'm grateful for the 12 steps of ACA to open that door, and for the love and acceptance I've received from my fellow travelers and my family in this room. Thank you all for listening today, and thank you all for supporting each other and being a part of this spiritual journey that we're on together. And in what we're doing, we really are contributing to our collective spiritual awakening. And so I appreciate you. Thank you so much.